good evening, everybody. Welcome to the meeting of the Grandville City Council. It's been 3 weeks since we've had our last meeting. It feels like a long time, so. But anyway, welcome. Glad you're all here. Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gelderlos.
Present.
Merringa.
Present.
Norhuck.
Here.
Steenstra. Truist.
Here.
Vanderwall.
Here.
And Mayor Mas.
Here. Councilmember Steenstra has asked to be excused. He is out of town tonight, spending some time with his son, Andy, who was also on the council before. Is there a motion to excuse Tim?
So, support.
Motion support. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposition, please say no. Okay, so I see that our pastor is not here tonight, so I'll give the invocation. So for those of you who wish, I'd invite you to stand. I'm going to follow that with a pledge of allegiance. God, thank you that we can gather here tonight. Thank you. We live in a country where we are able to have meetings like this. Thank you for the freedom that we enjoy. Thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for the difference between the days. Thank you, you're God of variety, when we see the flowers and the trees, and even the temperatures and the snow and the sun. But we know that you're a God of consistency too, especially in your love for us. Thank you that you care for us. You have a plan and purpose for each one of us. And you see things from the very beginning to the very end. And help us make good decisions tonight. Help us to do the right thing by our citizens. We pray especially for our police officers and first responders, that you will keep them safe, and we pray that they will feel appreciated because they are. Thank you that you're the giver of every good and perfect gift. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So you have before you the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Support. Support. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Any opposition, please say no. So we have the minutes from our last meeting, which was, 3 weeks ago, March 24th. Had a chance to look at those. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Motion
Support.
and support. Any discussion? Things anybody wants to point out? Additions, corrections, anything like that? If not, all those in favor of approving minutes from our last meeting, March 24th, please say yes. Yes.
Yes.
In opposition, please say no. So, Griffin, tonight, our bills are fairly substantial, so lots happening again. And it's been 3 weeks.
Yes, it has.
Pushing $700,000 tonight in bills. So, anything you'd like to mention on those?
Happy to, yes. So the bills for this evening are in the amount of $694,673.89. Couple to highlight for you. Going to start with, we do have an invoice to Adams and Associates Appraisals in the amount of $6,000. This was one of the appraisals for a tax appealed company or property, 3451 Rivertown Point Court. That was acknowledged by the council several meetings ago. We have an invoice to D&K Truck Company in the amount of $154,710. This was the dump/plow truck that was approved back in August. As you all may remember, at that time, there's quite a lead time for some equipment like this. So that's one of the new big trucks that we get out into town, particularly in the wintertime when we need to clear roads. Invoice in the amount of $140,000 to Hillard Electric, Inc. This is ongoing lightning strike repairs. Some of the equipment that was on back order we're starting to receive, so they're starting to make some progress there again. Once they get the digester back up and running, we'll be able to evaluate kind of the next round of damage and be able to finish up. So still an ongoing process. That again is being covered by our insurance company, and they've been a pleasure to work with on this one so far, but want to acknowledge that invoice. Just a couple more. Neo Solutions Inc. in the amount of $26,220. This is one of the many companies that we are regularly buying process chemicals for to run the clean water plant. a company called Proforma in the amount of $3,837.65. Just not one we see all the time, but this is DPW and Clean Water Plant clothing and uniforms. And then lastly, invoicing the amount of $2,020 to Scott Civil Engineering Company. This is some pre-design work associated with the Service Road Bridge rehab off of 34th Street. This is pre-design work that was necessary so we can go out to bid here in the upcoming months to do the remainder of the actual rehab. But with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions. And I do have the book of invoices like normal if there's any specific ones the council would like to take a look at.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Griffin about any of the bills tonight? Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve the bills tonight in the amount of $694,673.89?
So moved.
Motion
Support.
and support. Any final questions? Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Merringa,
Yes.
Norhuck,
Yes.
Truce,
Yes.
Vanderwaal,
Yes.
Gelderlos,
Yes.
and Mayor Mas.
Yes. Well, tonight we have a presentation by the police department. It's a certificate of appreciation. Chief, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate you allowing us to take the time to honor Josephine Lopipero. Sorry about that. If you could come on up here, please. Ever since 2020, with the advent of COVID, in our attempt to still be able to connect with the youth of our city, we started doing Marches Reading Month videos. We're cops, we're not video techs, but luckily we have a award-winning program at the Grandville High School in their AV program. Each year they partner with us to do it. And this year Josephine was the individual that worked on all 4 of our videos. You saw in our monthly report that the videos have been viewed 8,000 times as of early morning on the 1st. I happened to check today and we're just under 11,000 views. So Josephine, thank you very much for your time and talent, and we just wanted to thank Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you very
appreciate
much.
it.
Josephine, thank you very much. So your videos are pretty cool, I
Yeah.
think. Is that something that you're really interested in pursuing, like as a career?
Not really, I just call it a hobby. It's just something fun to do, so.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. It's time for public comment. Anybody here like to address the council? Just come on up to the podium. Give us your name and address and tell us what you're thinking about. Kyla, I hope we're gonna get a tree update.
Yeah, we are.
Great.
I just want to say thank you to everyone that supported the Tree Grandville. It was very successful this year. We sold 80 trees and used all the city funds up to like $2.97.
Pretty close.
And so Saturday, we're gonna bring the trees in on the 17th, so you'll see the trees displayed out in the parking lot. But on the 19th, we actually asked people to come and pick up their trees. And it's a pretty fun time, and so I'm inviting everyone that would like to come and see the happy faces on people as they get their trees to come down and join us between 9 and 11 on Saturday morning. It's just a fun time, and it's exciting to know that, you know, you gave back to the people that own property here in the city of Grandville. And over the last 3 years, we've managed to plant 190 trees, so that's quite an accomplishment. So I'm really happy that people are engaged and they want to make our community a better place to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your work. I know it's a lot of work to organize the whole thing. You're not done yet. Saturday you will be, right? Yeah. Great. Anybody else like to address the council? Mike, welcome.
Thanks again. Thanks for everybody for serving, and blessings to your family, and happy Easter.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Mike. Anybody else? Okay, if not, we'll go down to ordinances and resolutions. This is proposed ordinance number 318, and this is the one regarding peddling, right? And yeah,
Solicitation, yes.
solicitation peddling.
Yes, so same materials are in your packet that were there 3 weeks ago, not 2 weeks ago. Discussing the request to amend section 12.2 of the Code of Ordinances in regard to regulating licensing and peddling, or the licensing of peddling and solicitation in Grandville. In short, what this proposed ordinance amendment would do is just transition the violation of this ordinance from a misdemeanor to a municipal civil infraction, to be more consistent with many of the other code of ordinance violations that we have. My understanding is the intent behind this is to ease enforcement and to make it a little bit more straightforward for our different enforcing entities within the city. So Assistant City Manager Matt Butts is actually out ill today, but I do know that the City Attorney helped draft this language, so between him and I'm confident we can answer any questions you may have.
Right. Was there a motion to remove proposed ordinance number 318 from the table?
So moved. Support.
Motion support. Any discussion? Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Norhuck.
Yes.
Truce.
Yes.
Vanderwall.
Yes.
Gelderlos.
Yes.
Merringa.
Yes.
And Mayor Mas.
Yes. Okay, is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 318, an ordinance to establish peddling and solicitation activities as civil infractions? So, motion?
Support.
And support by Randy. Any comments, questions?
Quick question, I guess, and I don't know if you know off the top of your head, Marcy, but what would be the citation amount for a sole infraction for like a first offense or something like this?
Don't know that.
What are they typically? Like I said, it varies by offense. Okay. Is that something that we need to address then with our list of fines and fees, to include this at some point?
So
In case
municipal.
we bring that back and review that.
Yes, so the way, my understanding is the way that we set municipal civil infractions, it's a set amount set by ordinance, or excuse me, by resolution. It's not different for each individual violation. So like a peddling in a solicitation ticket isn't gonna be called out on the fee schedule with some of the others. I don't
I
know
think
if
that's right,
that's
it's put on a
correct.
resolution, and it'll be like first infraction, second infraction, that
Yeah.
kind of schedule.
And that's for a variety of different types of offenses.
Correct. Correct, yeah, I don't have the schedule with me, but,
I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't either, not enough that I wanna to guess. I know from, I can speak, I guess, to experience in other communities. Quite often, your first offense is $50 and your second offense is $100. That's pretty standard that I've seen, again, without re-looking specifically in Grandville. I don't wanna say that definitively, but that's pretty standard in my experience.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Truce.
Yes.
Vanderwall.
Yes.
Gelderlos.
Yes.
Merringa.
Yes.
Norhuck.
Yes.
And Mayor Mas.
Yes. We've got quite a few things under the consent agenda, and the approval tonight would be in the best interest of the city because there are some purchases on there. So tonight we have some March reports from the EMS Fire Department, the Police Department, and the Treasurer's Department. We have 3 minutes from the Tree Board from the February, March, and April meeting. Also the February meeting minutes from the Park and Recreation Board, March Board of Review, which is kind of interesting as well. And the Library Board minutes and the Historical Commission March minutes. We also have a resolution number 3368, setting the public hearing on our fiscal year 2025-2026 budget for May 12 at 7 p.m. And we also have an appointment, a proposed appointment to the Tree Board, which was recommended by the Tree Board. I forget the woman's name. Yeah, okay, thanks. And that would be for the term expiring at the end of 2027. We also have some purchase orders, and one is parking lot maintenance at City Hall and the Fire Department. AV system repairs here in this room. and fire some protective equipment, some ballistic things and so on. So, is there any specific question or item somebody would like to discuss or ask the chief questions about?
Just clarify for the council, the parking lot maintenance and the fire department protective equipment are both budgeted items. The AV system repairs is something that has been pointed out over the last couple meetings. The AV equipment that sits behind us has been malfunctioning, so the company who installed it a few years ago came in and gave us a quote for a repair. They were pretty surprised that a piece of equipment like that had failed so quick, but this is just a necessary maintenance item.
Any other items on there anybody would like to discuss? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda in the best interest of the city?
So moved.
Motion
Support.
and support. Other final comments or questions? Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Vanderwall,
Yes.
Gelderlos,
Yes.
Merringa,
Yes.
Norhuck,
Yes.
Truce,
Yes.
and Mayor Mas.
Yes. Down to the city manager's report already. Griffin?
Thank you. So the first item we have for you this evening is in regard to the 2025 street overlay projects. DPW Director Charlie Sungland prepared a memo that's in your packet. It provides a list of the proposed street overlay projects included in this year's budget. We were fortunate this year, and we haven't got to say this in the last handful of years, but actually all three of our bids came in under budget, which is exciting. And ultimately, it is recommended that the City Council award the bid to Black Gold Transport, who was the low bidder, in the amount of $1,032,322.50. I would like to, before I turn it over to Charlie, in case you all have any questions, just point out, we did include a copy of the kind of active road project map that we've brought out a couple different times in your packets. I know for me, this helps me to understand a lot better where these projects are going to be taking place this year than necessarily just looking at a spreadsheet or a list. But with all of that, I'll turn it over to Charlie if he's got any other comments, or I know he'll be happy to answer any questions.
No, I have no other comments unless the council has something for me.
I do want to thank whoever prepared this map, because I called Griffin last week. I had a call from somebody about when are you going to do 44th Street East, and it was just, this is beautiful. This is kind of the answer. It's like, well, it's scheduled for this time, so very nice. I'm hanging on to this. Thank you. Well, and it looks like, I haven't worked out the percentages, but I mean, the estimated cost on these was like $1.6 million, and the bid's like $1 million, so that's substantial.
We've been seeing really high road prices the last couple of years, as you all may remember, kind of right before I started last year, when you guys did the 2024 street overlays, you only got one bid. So, I mean, we're fortunate this year that we not only got multiple bids, but we've also seen road work prices start to stabilize a little bit. So it's definitely a better position to be in than the last handful of years.
Any questions for Griffin on, Josh?
I do have a question. So I think these are great numbers. It's great to have three bids come in, obviously significantly under budget. And so since we've been talking a lot about our infrastructure and roads and things, I'm wondering, since this is significant savings for what we budgeted, is it possible to move some of those streets that we had scheduled for next year up this year? In particular, can we do something with 44th Street from Ivanrest to the east city limits? Because we get a lot of complaints about that. I know that's not scheduled until like next construction season. So is that something that we can look at, putting that money that we're saving towards some additional roads for this year?
I would have to, if the finance director tells me that it's okay, yes, we can move those up.
So here's what I would
I have no idea
recommend.
what that cost would be for that particular section. But
We programmed $650,000 for that road next year, so I'd have to get a cost to do that.
Josh, my recommendation would be, if that's something that there's consensus among the council to have some interest in, because of the scope of that project being let's say, kind of notably larger than any kind of like individual one on this list, we would recommend rebidding that one. But we can conceivably do that and try to get some prices and bring it back to you all to kind of make a final decision if that's something you all would want to consider doing this year, or once you get the prices, see if you want to decide to do it next year, or for next year.
I mean, I would definitely be in favor of that. I think that's in line with our philosophy that we kind of stated as far as prioritizing roads. And if it can't be that road, even some of the local roads to, you know, get some good pricing this year while we've got some competitive bids going on here. My priority would be to do 44th Street there, but if there's something else we could do, otherwise I think it'd be great. I don't know what other people think. but
I think that's a great question. It'll be interesting to.
Who knows what next year looks like with bidding, so.
So may I just add something? So you have to remember timing. So in order to get additional slate of roads or a larger road project like that, we still have to jump through all the same hoops for getting it bid out, getting the bids back, getting scheduled into somebody else's schedule. It's not impossible, but there's a stronger likelihood, because we are now into April, that that project probably wouldn't be able to take place until the end of the year or beginning of next year. So if that were the case, that would end up coming out of next year's budget, not this year's budget, even though there would be slack in there for this fact that we didn't end up spending all of the budgeted amount for this year. So we just want to keep that in mind as far as our budget goes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we take it back and take a look at it and see what's possible. I mean, even if we can just do some overlays for next year that we're already, and that's not as complicated as doing the whole road
Yeah, I'd rather do the milling overlays than just an overlay, because just an overlay is just wasting time and money. I want to mill it.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't tell you how to do it, but I'm just
No.
saying, if we have extra money that we're not spending this year that's intended for roads, if we could even get some of the local streets over.
Certainly. What I can do is make some phone calls tomorrow to a couple of these three bidders and let them know, hey, here's a couple of streets we're looking at. Can you give me, put a bid out? Try to get it back within 2 weeks if I could. And get it, I don't know if I can get it in the next council meeting, maybe the first council meeting in May. I can reach out to try to do that.
So those are just my thoughts. I don't know what other people think.
We're happy to, I mean, we're happy to work on that, and I think to Jane's point, even if it doesn't happen, because this work to be in this fiscal year will take place between now and June 30, but even if we're able to get some of those projects to take place in Q1 of the next fiscal year, as opposed to needing to wait until spring of next year, we may be able to make that happen. So we're happy to take a look and see what options are.
What I could probably do, like I said, if I can get out the bid and get a price, get it locked in, to even carry into next year's budget, would help out. You're gonna get the savings and bring it into it.
Yeah, whatever you can do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the street paving contract with Black Oil Transport in the amount of $1,033,322.50 in the best interest for the city?
So, support.
Thought maybe I was gonna have to make.
I was gonna give somebody else.
We all love asphalt too, right? I mean, okay, motion and support. Any other questions, comments? Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gelderlos.
Yes.
Merringa.
Yes.
Norhuck.
Yes.
Truce.
Yes.
Vanderwaal.
Yes.
And Mayor Mas.
Yes.
Thank you. So moving on to the next one, looking at a little more of a discussion on this one. So there's a memo in the packet from the Department of Public Works requesting to hire a contractor to reconnect a fire suppression line at 350 Ivanrest. During an inspection following the completion of the Ivanrest repaving, it was discovered that there was a fire suppression line that was not reconnected to the new water main. So we now need to make that right and get that reconnected. So I have Tim Hofer, the city engineer, here this evening from Moore and Bruce Inc., as well as DPW Director Charlie Sundland to talk about that in a little more detail if there are questions. But before I hand it over to them, I'd also like to highlight that in the packet last week, we provided a quote from Georgetown Construction Company. At the time, this was the best quote we could get. And what's specific about that one that I want to point out is they have proposed being able to reconnect this line without needing to cut back into Ivanrest. Earlier this morning, we received or I guess late last week, I saw it early this morning, we received a new quote from Brick Plumbing, which is another reputable company that is proposing a different way of fixing this. They are proposing cutting into Ivanrest to reconnect the line, but it is substantially less expensive to do it that way. So I wanted to bring both to you all this evening while we also have our experts, Charlie and Tim, here to talk a little bit about, I guess, the pros and cons of each option and look for your input on moving forward. We do need to get this fire suppression line reconnected there. We just have a little bit of choice of how we are to go about that. So Tim, if you don't mind, can I call you up and
Sure.
give a little more background, I guess, of how we got here?
Yeah, of course. So the issue, I guess the issue isn't so much that it was missed. We didn't believe there was a fire service in that building. During design, we work with the city DPW staff and go through all the addresses, look at all the services. So we look at all of the records that the city has on file of the domestic service, the fire service, what's the size, what's the material, all that. If there's questions, we usually, we'll further the investigation to try to figure out, what's there. In this case, the DPW staff actually went into the buildings, and the report that came back was none of the buildings have fire suppression, except there is one we're not sure about, 3100, which is the neighboring property to 3050. We weren't sure. So just based on that, during the design process, the design team, us and DPW were pretty comfortable that, hey, there are no fire suppression in any of these buildings, except for 3100. There was a question, so in the design, we accommodated that one, showed a reconnection, but the others, because of the report, we didn't have, show a connection because there's nothing to connect to, right? So unfortunately, now we know that that's not the case. As Griffin said during inspection, and believe it or not, positively, I believe it was the property owner had their annual fire service inspector come in, and lo and behold, there was no pressure in there. Unfortunately, during construction, a lot of times things happen during construction where you discover that, hey, there actually is a service to this building. For one reason or another, the property owner comes out, something like that happens. Nothing happened like that in this case. And in fact, it's kind of a unique case. There were two existing water mains in that street, and the water main that these services are connected to are way up in the front yards of these buildings. And so, there wasn't an opportunity where, as we were excavating out the road, where we would find, hey, there's a line here, where does this go? So unfortunately, that, during construction, it never came out, and so it was, eventually missed, and needs to be reconnected. Now, the two options to reconnect, the $75,000 one, I mentioned that address 3100, that was the question during design. Does that have a service, does that not? So part of the design actually had a connection to their service. During construction, as they were digging that up, there was no service to connect to. So there is a T and there is a line that goes up into the parkway there that is not connected to anything right now because there was nothing to connect to at 3100. So that's how with the Georgetown quote, that's how that would happen without having to cut into the street. They'd run about 280 feet of water main underneath the sidewalk to connect into the neighbor property 3050. So the sidewalk would get replaced as part of that. It's an open cut thought, at least that's with the Georgetown estimate. So, but it would go underneath the sidewalk and not go out in the street. The other option is, you know, just like you would picture, just going straight out into the street. The water main is a few feet out from the curb, so it's not cut all the way across the street. It's into that first lane on that side of the road, but significantly cheaper. And you know, from a pipe standpoint, from a utility standpoint, less bends, less infrastructure in the future to leak and things like that. You know, more direct route, but you have the cut in the asphalt, and you know it's a reminder. So anyway, that's a little more description there.
If this second quote would not have been so substantially different, I think we would be sitting here recommending not cutting into the newly paved road for many reasons. But we're talking a $50,000 difference, and that is substantial enough that you know, we do feel that needs to be considered. I know I talked with Charlie already this morning, and the last thing we want is a cut in this new road that every time someone drives over it, we're gonna go, oh my gosh, look, we just cut into this brand new road and we've got this dip. Again, please interrupt me if I'm wrong, Charlie, but I mean, we seem pretty confident we could get it pretty smooth.
Yes, we'll be able to dictate, so to speak, who the contractor is going to lay the asphalt and oversee them, and we'll make sure that it's a good, smooth surface on it. So
There still will be a cut, it won't be perfect, I think it's important we're all, you know, kind of setting realistic expectations there, but I mean, that is, I guess, the decision I'm looking for this evening is, are we comfortable cutting into that road to fix this, recognizing the cost savings available there, or would we like to go with an alternative that is more costly, but it would not require us to cut into that road?
Tim, you mentioned that it would go just into that first lane, probably.
Yeah, it's the water main, I think it's about 3 feet from the edge of curb, but of course they've got to excavate it a little bit further to, get out of the pipe and that. So they're probably going to be, the hole's probably 8 to 10 feet off of the curb, and then you locate the cut so it's not in the wheel track. So it could go into that, it could go across that first lane just to make sure that, you don't put that cut right on a wheel track, but that's as far as it would go. I don't think it, would go further than that into that center lane or the other, the far lane that's southbound.
once the new asphalt gets in there, also, we would crack seal around the crack with the cut right away to keep the water and stuff out of it.
Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
Question. I'm not sure I fully understand what you said, but, so 3100 has a working suppression system now?
So 3100 actually did not have a connection. That was during design, that was one that that it was unknown whether they actually had a suppression system or not.
Okay.
And so we included a T and a valve and a stub there just in case.
Okay.
If there's a question, we include it, and so we did. And when they went to reconnect it, they found that the T that was there was plugged off and it didn't connect to anything. So that building does not have a fire suppression system, but that T is right there.
So in regards to 3050, are there active sprinkler heads in the ceiling that are temperature, like a fire would set the fuse and other sprinkler heads?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is,
Missed.
when they didn't have any alarm system on it for pressure gauges and stuff like that, that would send a signal to the fire department and stuff like that. There was nothing in it, which makes me think that when we disconnected the water, they should have had bells and whistles going on, but they didn't. So they didn't have any of their proper gauges and stuff in there. So
But it was all piped and all the sprinkler
Yes,
heads are there?
yes. Yep.
Thoughts? Do you have a recommendation?
I think because of the cost, I mean, I think there's like Griffin said, there's probably a point where, is it worth $10,000 to not have a new cut in the street? Probably, because that's gonna be there forever, but, that $50,000 is a big, is a big difference. And the shorter, that shorter water line, I mean, instead of being 280 feet, you're talking, 20 feet. So it's not, you don't have as much stagnant water sitting in the line, going into the fire, into the fire system of the building. There's not as much to take care of. So, for those reasons, I think the $24,000 option is the way to go.
Charlie, what are your
I concur with Tim. Nobody wants to cut in the road, but $50,000 savings. And it's a straight shot, like you said earlier, you're not doing a 90, another 90, and less problems to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the budget was 254, this would knock out another 25 from that. We can get some more roads paid for that.
And I'm not sure, did you mention the budget from that project where we came in with the project overall?
Yeah, appreciate it. We did include Tim's memo. For some of these major projects, More Emerging puts together kind of these nice summaries for us. And, ultimately this project did come in about 250, I think you just said, under budget. Or I have it here. Yeah, about $250,000 under budget. So, I mean, I don't think any of us are happy we're in this position. I think a consolation could be, needing to make this right now is not gonna require this project to go under budget. We're still gonna be within the original bounds we predicted for the project. And I do, wanna just thank Tim for being here. I haven't been with the organization all that long, but More Emerging's been, very helpful. They're as close to on-staff engineers as a community like ours are gonna get. And particularly when it comes to stuff like this and the problem-solving aspects of a lot of this, they've just been incredibly helpful. So appreciate taking the time to be here.
Yep.
Any other thoughts? Otherwise, is there a motion to authorize hire Georgetown Construction to connect that fire suppression line? I'm sorry. Brick plumbing in the amount of $24,875.
Make that motion.
Support. Motion support. Any other comments, questions?
Just one, I think Brooks has done a whole lot of really good work around town, and if you recall, they were the contractor who went out and inspected for a lot of water lines to make sure we didn't have lead services, and they did a good job, so they're a good company.
Motion support. Any other final comments, questions? Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Merringa?
Yes.
Norhuck?
Yes.
Truce?
Yes.
Vanderwall?
Yes.
Gelderlos?
Yes.
And Mayor Mas?
Yes.
So the next item I have on the city manager's report is actually going to be a request to recess into closed session. There is the potential we may need some action from city council following closed session, so if we could have it as a recess as opposed to an adjournment, that would be appreciated. Before we get there, I do have just a couple other quick notes that I would like to share. First off, the Behan Foley drain is something that's come up on the project update over the past several months. Kent County is looking at doing some pretty substantial repairs to that drain that impact the southeast corner of our community. This last week, Turtle Bend Drive by Ramblewood Apartments actually failed to the level that the fire department had to get involved to come up with alternative access to a couple of the apartment buildings back there. I just want to highlight that because that is, at least in part, in association with some of these issues that the county's having with the Behan fully drained maintenance. There was a culvert under Turtle Bend Drive that clearly failed and has now made that impassable. So it's just one of those larger scale projects that I want to make sure is on everyone's radar because it may be coming sooner than we anticipated now. I also want to share that the city received a lot of really cool Tree City materials in the mail today. We have been recognized as a Tree City for, it must be the 8th year, because that's what all the materials say, for the 8th year. So just want to congratulate the city council and Kyla and everyone involved, Charlie, for all their work in making that kind of stuff happen. It's exciting to get those types of things in the mail. And then lastly, just want to put on everyone's radar a friendly reminder that next Monday on the 21st, we will have budget workshop number 2. We'll work through a number of the smaller funds at the beginning of the meeting, but the plan is to spend a bulk of the time discussing our 2 utility funds. As a friendly reminder, that's going to take place at the Clean Water Plant. And then the meeting following that, so the Monday after next Monday, we're anticipating having a presentation-heavy meeting. We're going to have some representatives from MetroNet attend that meeting. I know since the spring has started, we've started to get quite a few kind of questions and concerns, so I've asked them to come in following some comments made at a previous meeting so they can answer directly to you all about any questions or concerns you're hearing from the community. We're also going to have Representative Grandville give one of her updates, and I think I have one more presentation that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, but just want to make everyone aware of that. Those are the updates that I have, and otherwise we look to go into a closed session when you all are ready.
Well, before we do that, I would take a motion for going into closed session. Let's do council member comments, and Jared, let's start on your end.
Yeah, nothing for me, just wish everybody happy Easter. It's a great week ahead of us. One of my favorite weeks of the year.
I'll echo that, and nothing else to add, thanks.
Just one thing, prior to this meeting, I met with a resident who expressed some concern about Airbnbs, and I know we've had a discussion about that before, and I said that I would elevate that issue back up for the council's consideration. So as we think of some of our strategic planning sessions and such throughout this year, that might be a topic worth putting on the list.
Josh?
Well, first I would just say welcome to Griffin and his wife Marissa, who I understand are now the newest residents of Grandville, so congratulations. It's great to have you here. I'm sure you're appreciating the much shorter commute
Yes,
to work.
looking forward to it.
So I saw that over the weekend, but congratulations. Great to have you here. I had an opportunity a couple weeks ago to participate in the Dispute Resolution Center meeting. They were starting to do the intake meetings with the different stakeholder groups. You'll recall we approved engaging with them to help with some of the conflict that's been going on with the neighbors in the Little League over on by the Little League complex. So I met with them along with the mayor and Griffin and then Ben Wykamp from the park board. So we had a good meeting, and then the follow-up meeting, I believe, is May 14th to have some further discussion, bringing the different groups together. So I just want to let everybody know that process has been moving along quickly, and seemed to be a very productive meeting. I thought the one that we were inviting next week.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, if I could just jump in. What was helpful is Josh, in particular, you're on the council, you're familiar with Little League, you've been on the partner, I mean, you wear a number of hats and have depth of familiarity with the whole issue, so that's great. Thank you for
It's opening night over there tonight.
Ah,
It's just
oh.
over there. So lots of ball games going on. So anyway, looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, I have nothing to add to the good of the order, so happy Easter to everybody.
Yeah, like Griffin said, we've got our sticker, 8 years, and just appreciation to people like Kyla who make that possible, and also to the citizen who brought it up probably 9 years ago. Just came in and said, hey, have you ever thought about being a Tree City USA? And I wasn't familiar with it, I don't know if you were. And yeah, just somebody's idea. Yeah. Makes a difference. Here we are, 8 years later, Tree City. All right, so as Griffin mentioned, is there a motion to recess into closed session pursuant to the Michigan Open Meetings Act for the following purpose? That is to consult with our attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy in the matter of Rivertown Crossings, Brookfield Properties Subco versus City of Grandville under Section 8E of the Open Meetings Act.
So moved.
Thank you. Would you repeat that one back to me? Exactly. Thank you.
Support.
And support. All right. Got a motion and support to recess. Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Dorn.
Yes.
Truist.
Yes.
Vanderwall.
Yes.
Gelderlos.
Yes.
Merringa.
Yes.
And Mayor Mas.
Yes. Great. Thanks, everybody, for being here.